Assalamualaikum. Hi people. In this video, we'll be talking about Dilalatul Lafdzi Alal Ma'na, one of the studies in the science of USHUL FIQH, which divides the clarity of the ma'na of a lafaz into two parts, namely wadih and ghair wadih, or clear and unclear, where each part has its own 4 levels according to Hanafiyah. So what are the levels? Let's break it down. Lafaz zahir is a lafaz that has a clear understanding without requiring external explanation, which we can call as visible meaning. But the understanding is not the main purpose of the lafaz spoken, which is the invisible meaning. For example, we can take a look on Surat Al-Baqarah, verse 275, which reads, وَأَحَلَّ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا, which means even though Allah has legalized buying and selling and forbidden usury. This sentence is called lafaz zahir. Why? Because it consists of two meanings, the visible meaning and the invisible meaning. The visible meaning is the meaning that we can conclude instantly after we read the text, which in this case is the fact that buying and selling is legal while usury is forbidden. And the second is the invisible meaning. The invisible meaning is something that we need to understand the whole context of the ayah, the asbab wa nuzul, to recognize this invisible meaning, which in this case, the invisible meaning or the main purpose of this ayah is to disprove the statement of musyrikin that states that buying and selling and usury are the same, which is actually not.
Nas is a pronunciation that show the mean literally clear, and that's what is mean by the context. For the example is the verses 275 Surah Al-Baqarah about selling and buying and usury. And the other example is in Surah An-Nisa verses 12. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Min ba'di wasiyatin tusuna biha audain, dan dibayarkan wasiatnya setelah dibayarkan hutangnya. Jadi ayat ini menunjukkan bahwasanya wasiat boleh dibagikan ketika hutang-hutang mereka telah terpenuhi atau telah dibayarkan. Jadi dalam konteks nas ini kita harus mengamalkan, mempraktekkan sesuai dengan apa yang telah tercantum dalam nas, dalam dalil yang ada. Namun ada kemungkinan bahwasanya nas ini bisa berubah artinya ketika ada takwil dari dalil yang bisa menggantikan makna yang lainnya.
Mufassar. Mufassar is a pronunciation that shows its meaning clearly and in detail without any possibility to turn it another meaning or ta'wil. Mufassar pronunciation can be divided into the first one, pronunciation whose meaning is clear and detailed from the start without needing explanation. Example of verse 4 of Surah An-Nur ayat 24, which explains the number of 18 lashes on people who do cows, namely accusing people commit adultery without witnesses. The second, the initial pronunciation was mujmal or in global. From then for the Sharia makers themselves came an explanation that detailed it until it was clear can be practiced. For example, the words prayer, zakat, and hajj in the Quran are mujmal or global words, without details on how to implement them. However, the pronunciation have become mufassar.
Muhkam is a pronunciation that show the meanings clearly and that it is impossible to ta'wil. Sifat di dalamnya itu adalah tidak pernah ada pembatalan atau nasakh yang dilakukan oleh Allah dan Rasulnya, karena merupakan suatu ajaran yang telah pasti yang diajarkan oleh Allah dan Rasulnya. For the example is only believe to Allah, believe to Rasulullah, kitab-kitab suci, and etc. And the other example is berbuat baik kepada kedua orang tua, tidak pernah berkata kasar kepada orang tua, membantah orang tua, dan lain sebagainya. Yang mana dari konteks kalimat ini muhkam itu sudahlah pasti atau qat'i dan tidak boleh ada pembatalan atau nasakh di dalamnya.
Lafaz khafi is lafaz that, in terms of meaning, is obvious. The vagueness arises when applying the understanding into a particular case, and the vagueness is because the form of the case is not exactly the same as the case that is shown by the lafaz. For example, the meaning of thief in Surah Al-Maidah, verse 38, which reads, "Wasariqu wasariqatu faqta'u aydiyahuma," which means, as for the thief, the male and female, cut off their hands. So in general, the definition of sariq or thief is someone who take others' properties secretly in a proper place for him. And the vagueness arises when this verse applied to the pickpockets that use their skillfulness to use others' negligence to steal their property. And the pickpockets take others' property not secretly and not in the secret place, as in the public place. So it brings to a question whether the pickpockets falls within the definition of thief or not. And to get the answer, we need to ijtihad, and we need to examine whether this understanding is included in the understanding of the first related or not.
Mushkil is a pronunciation whose meaning is not clear, and obscurity is caused by the pronunciation. It was created for several different meanings. Thus, to find out which meaning is meant in an editorial required indication or arguments from outside, as in pronunciation mushtarak. Mushtarak is pronunciation created for several different meanings. For example, the pronunciation of the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah ayat 228, the first woman should refine iddah 3 times guru. The word guru in the first is in the use of language Arabic can mean holy period and can also mean menstruation period.
Mujmal, according to Hanafiya, is a pronunciation that contain global, the meaning where maknanya itu tidak bisa dijelaskan oleh dirinya sendiri, melainkan harus dijelaskan dari nas yang lain. For the example, like sholat, zakat, puasa, and etc. Lapal-lapal tersebut tidak bisa dijelaskan oleh dirinya sendiri karena mereka harus dijelaskan dan dirincikan pengertiannya melalui dalil-dalil, melalui nas-nas yang lain. Seperti contohnya sholat, sebagaimana sholat akan dijelaskan perinciannya dalam hadis Rasulullah.
The Hanaiyah group define mutashbih as a pronunciation that does not show clarity of meaning, and there are no signs or arguments to explain it. Only those who know what it means, maker of the Sharia himself. According to Abdul Khalaf, mutashbih in this sense is not found in legal verses, but in verses of other forms such as in the form of letters, fragments that are usually located at the beginning of the surah. For example, Alif Lam Mim, which is located the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah.